Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a great weekend or a great week whenever it is that you are listening. So here we are again, Anne, Sunday morning and another Vibe Sunday podcast.
Yes, the weeks are going very quickly again.
And again, we say that every single week.
We do.
And every single week it seems to be true. So if you haven't listened before, welcome and thank you for tuning in. For the next half an hour or so, Anne and I are going to have another conversation. And like we always say, we don't know specifically what we will discuss. We shall see where it goes. And as always, hopefully you enjoy listening.
Yes.
Good. Are you happy to begin, Anne?
I am, yes.
Brilliant. Where would you like to start this morning?
With a little bit of a rant, I think.
Right, okay.
And it's a rant that's been going on for a couple of days inside. I haven't been ranting outside, inside.
You have been stewing.
I've been stewing, yes.
Okay.
And I'm sure, I would say the majority of you have been ranting about the same thing.
Okay.
This week, it's the time of the year, isn't it? It's the time of the year of doing taxes and getting, your house in order in finances. For most people at this time of the year are thinking of it.
Okay.
So if anybody has any investments or things like ISA, which I have ISA, they'll be looking at them and thinking, oh, I wonder if the interest rates are increasing. And they don't automatically increase if you have something like that.
Okay.
You have to you get in touch with somebody, and the bank then will do the increasing reinvest for you is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
So this week that's happened with me. So I decided I would this is my rant.
Your rant.
I decided to get in touch with...
Brace yourself, everybody.
With my bank.
Okay.
So I pick up the phone and you can all think of me picking up the phone and you can picture it now.
Yes.
And I dial and I get, which department would you like to be in? Press 1, press 2, press 3, which is irritating to say the least. And I press all the buttons and then I wait. And then I get a very nice gentleman, actually. I was very lucky. He was a very nice gentleman.
Yes.
And I said to him, I would like to speak to somebody in the bank about my finances.
Okay.
So he said, I can do it for you now. And I said, I don't do online banking. Oh, I can set it up for you. Well, there's a reason I don't do online banking, because I like to deal with people. Oh, this young man said, not quite knowing what to say. So I said, I've also been into the branch itself, and the branch itself now is amalgamated with another bank, and they say we don't do face-to-face.
Okay.
So I say to this young man, okay, so what do I do now? So the young man is very confused, doesn't quite know what to do, doesn't understand why I don't want to do online banking and I prefer people. So he says, okay, could I put you on hold and I'll go and speak to somebody? So I said, yes. 10 minutes later,
Right.
I'm still on hold.
Okay.
The young man comes back and he says, and I'm telling you all this because I think it may help some of you out there who have the same opinion as me.
Yes.
Because we're not told this.
Okay.
And he comes back and he says to me, no, you can't, there's nothing I can really do. And I've spoken to the head manager here, but you can go into any of your banks and they will have to sort it out for you there and then.
Right.
And we're not told that.
No.
We're told we either have to make appointments or we have to go through hoops or we've got to do online banking. And what I'd like to say is, I think it's time we all grew a pair, to be honest, and started standing up in the bank and saying, this is my money.
Okay.
And I think we've lost sight of that. I think we've lost sight that the money that these banks hold is our money. It's not their money.
Yes.
And we tend to look at it. If you're paid your wages into the bank, it goes in the bank and you never see it, do you? So the youth of today never see money.
No.
So they don't realise they're having money or it is their money.
Right.
Whereas I was always paid with cash in a brown envelope.
Yes.
So I was taught how to manage money.
So you are saying the physical tangibility of paper and coin money makes it real.
It is real.
And having a digitalised credit and debit,
Yes.
essentially where people are paying on card and now phones and
Yes.
smart watches and all kinds of touchless
Yes.
devices, makes the value of money, the tangibility of money, the reality of money.
No, I think it takes away the value of money, to be honest, because you don't see the value yourself.
Yes, that's what I was going on to say, that it removes it removes the reality of the money.
Yes. So how are these young people going to ever get out of debt if they never actually physically see how much money they're earning, how much money they're spending, or, and the bills as well. So you have to know how much outgoing you're having, how much incoming, and what is physically there in front of you. So I despair for the children of today at school.
Right.
Because even some of those are having cards now, aren't they?
Yes. Yes, it's not uncommon at all for children and teenagers to have their pocket money on a card now. And they go into the shops, I've seen them, and I'm sure you were listening have seen them, and maybe some of your family members have them, and maybe you agree with it, and maybe you're right, maybe you're not. We all have our own experiences with this, where children are using contactless cards to pay for things. Also on their phones as well, they can use their phones, as everybody else can now, with a form of managing money.
So how do they learn responsibility, if that's the case?
It's a good question. How do they learn responsibility?
I can't see how they can learn responsibility because they don't know how much they're spending. So they could really be... obviously, the parents will put a limit on it.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that if they put a limit on, they put 5 lunches on that card. That doesn't stop that child using that card, all of those 5 lunches in one day.
That's true for a £20 note as well.
Well, it's not, because you can see it.
Yes, but you could still spend the £20
But you
note
know how
all at once, or you could spend the money in a day or 2 days on other things as opposed to what the money was intended for.
Yes, I agree.
So the principle's the same.
The principle's the same, except you can't see it's gone. So if you go to a shop and you're going in buying clothes and you go into 5 shops...
I understand what you're saying.
I wonder how many people actually add up as they go to those 5 different shops,
how much they
spend.
They probably look the other way on purpose as well. Maybe we all do that. Yeah. Maybe we all do that, yes.
Yeah, I think most people do that. I try not to pay by card. I try to pay everything by cash.
Yes.
Because I think it's important. It's also British currency, isn't it? It's the currency of this land. So are we losing... this is only my thought now, that's just coming to my head. Are we losing currency as well? So is it leading towards one digital world?
I don't have a problem with the overall view of having a one world currency.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's inevitable. It's just a question of timing and a question of under what consciousness, under what world are we living, and within what world are we living. It is inevitable, and it is going to be for the betterment of humanity in terms of fair trade and free trade, and also being able to stop bribery and corruption in all forms, shapes and guises across the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be a digital currency or exclusively a digital currency. It can have a tangibility in the physical as well. So paper and coin money could be part of a one world currency. We're nowhere near that point. But I do not, in principle and in essence, have an issue with it. And I do not think we should be afraid of it. I think we should embrace the truth that we share one planet, and that a united humanity and the shared, responsible guardianship of all of its resources is all of our responsibility. And therefore, a one world currency is going to enable us to be better guardians. we need to move towards that place. And this is true for all of our unified responsibility together. We're nowhere near that this morning. We're nowhere near that as things currently stand. Nor am I in any way, shape or form advocating for a particular world order that is centred around a one world digital currency locked into a specific mindset, ruled over by a specific set of criteria. I'm talking about for the betterment of humanity, for the goodness and with the goodness of humanity, for a future that we would choose for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. But I would like us to look towards the future with optimism and hope, not fear and pessimism, and with a sense of doom and a foreboding darkness that is shadowing over the world. We have to embrace change and we have to embrace the future. And we have to create that future together. Otherwise, everything that people are afraid of will come to pass because people were not brave enough and courageous enough to create the future that people truly in their hearts wish to feel and see.
So for me, what you've just said, I agree with completely. But at this time, I would say we have to look at consciousness.
Yes.
Of the human race. I'm talking about the whole human race now, of consciousness. And for me, consciousness is, who are we putting first? Is it self, that we only consider our one self and what we want, or do we consider the whole? So these children at school who are, and I know I'm harping back at the same thing as I usually get back to, who are using machines for that, and that which are affecting their minds, can they still develop a consciousness of their own?
In terms of a conscience, do you
Conscience,
mean?
yes.
Conscience,
yes. Because I think that's important.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. No, I'm asking you.
It's much more difficult to be able to cultivate and grow in conscience without human engagement. More time and energy spent engaging directly in human contact and that being of value. And what I mean by value is on intentional, purposeful, primary contact with family, friends, and then the wider community, and then ultimately the human community, is how we grow together, because we are not separate from each other in truth. We appear separate from each other in body, but in essence, in spirit, in soul, we are unified. And our shared time together and our shared thoughts with each other, when we think of each other in intention, builds our conscience and is shaping and growing our compassion and our empathy and our humanity. It is less likely to grow if any of our attention is drawn into a technological device. But that could be the same for people that are locking themselves away and not paying attention to anybody because they are focused on gambling or television or anything in truth. But at least certain pursuits still have a human signature. Where it's becoming more and more technocentric, the human signature, the human presence, even in design and creation, voice is being usurped. That development of conscience that you spoke about and you posed as a question is less and less likely, to the point at which you are right, it will not happen. And I think it's fair to say the effects of that are already starting, not just with children, but with adults as well. It really is a point now to be questioned as to whether or not the human race has a conscience, whether or not the human race has empathy anymore for each other. Is that empathy alive?
I do wonder. And some people will say it's an age thing, in that I'm not in the age of technology. And maybe I'm not in the age of technology. I can see wonderful things. I can see things happening, even in medicine, that would be absolutely wonderful. But I don't think the human mind is ready until we have, this is what I'm trying to say is, there are wonderful things. There is the digital world, but there's so much corruption within all aspects of life nowadays. So how are we going to deal with the corruption? If we have corruption within governments, within companies, within medicine, how are we going to change it? And I think it still boils back to consciousness. Is there not care? If I change it just to an ordinary word, is caring? Do we? And I do see care. There are some people who are lovely. I'm not saying it's all really bad, but what I'm trying to say is I think that those of us who do care have to stand tall.
Yes.
And be seen. Most people who are very caring shrink into the background. It's odd, isn't it, that happens?
I don't think it's odd. I think it's understandable that very sensitive people find it difficult in this world to let themselves be seen.
Yes.
Because often it comes with a higher level of judgment, because this world is very judging, and it's a harsh world in judgments, and we all feel that. So I don't think it's odd. It's a question of strength, and it's a question of strength for us all. And all of you listening, I do not feel the vast majority of people who are listening, and many, many people out in this world, lack goodness. But maybe there isn't the strength and the courage at this time to go with it. Not necessarily you or I, Anne, not necessarily you listening this morning, but certainly for all of us to think about. It's not enough to care.
No.
It has to become courage. It has to become courage. It has to be actioned based upon the premise of it taking effect in our world. So to know kindness is one thing, and it's a very important thing, but to be kind is another. And to be kind, one must action kindness, and therefore the being can be kind. To know truth in this world, to know fairness in this world, to know goodness in this world requires all of us to action it, to become it, so that we can know ourselves as it. So that if we truly value everything that we do value in terms of conscience, it has to be actioned. And that requires courage, and it requires strength, and it requires conviction. But it cannot be actioned with fear.
I think fear is the culprit, to be honest. I think there's too much fear nowadays. And especially with children. We've all had the bogeyman under the bed, haven't we? We've all had that as children, or as growing up and as teenagers. You know, somebody's under the bed when we all get scared. And we can get and sometimes we can be excited. Sometimes that can make you get excited and thinking,
yeah.
And it gets the adrenaline going in your body.
Yes.
So sometimes
people like to be afraid, which is why horror films and roller coasters exist, and why Spooky World exists, because people enjoy the thrill of being scared. Yeah. Because it provides that adrenaline rush.
Going on a ride.
If
we go on a ride, you know, and you're scared and you get on and that builds up your adrenaline. Your fear is good for you then.
Yes.
But I find nowadays people are quite fearful of the unknown. They don't quite know what they're afraid of in a lot of cases, but they are afraid.
I feel that people are afraid to live.
Do you think that's what it is?
I don't know for certain, in fact, but I do feel in essence, yes, people are afraid to live. Because if we live, we make mistakes. And if we live, we have experiences that are sometimes painful and sometimes disappointing. And we are afraid of being disappointed, and we are afraid of being hurt. Understandably so.
Yes.
But to live means we take a chance.
Absolutely.
It means we have to put ourselves out there. It means we have to bring in an element of unknown, and we have to choose to embrace it, and we have to create a sense of adventure to do this. It seems that we are retreating ever more into our own personal lives, not necessarily caring less and less about anybody else, but actioning less and less care. And our lives are becoming more and more predictable, more and more comfortable. And people are comfortable in even in their displeasure with the world around them. And lots of people, and us included, we talk a lot, and people enjoy talking about what they see in the world, for better or for worse.
Yes.
And yet it's still not changing.
Not actioning it.
Because people actually, not necessarily you listening this morning, enjoy being disgruntled. They enjoy being afraid. They enjoy things not being the way that they feel it should be, because they enjoy moaning. They enjoy being a victim. They enjoy having a place of discontent, because paradoxically they are comfortable with being uncomfortable. They are at ease with dis-ease. They are, in a sense, accepting of the mediocrity of life.
Yes.
A settlement has been made. And this life was never meant to be for the settling. It was meant to be for a live adventure, to be lived full. And that is the attitude that children have. That is the attitude that we have, if we are truly to connect to who we are, is a sense of adventure, is to live fully.
We went to see Ben Fogle, didn't we? A group of us went to see Ben Fogle this week.
Yes, we did.
At
We
the
went
theatre.
to Salford
Keys.
Theatre, the Lowry at Salford Keys. If you haven't seen Ben Fogle, he really is a likeable personality, isn't he?
Unbelievable. Very, very likeable, but
Yes.
he talked about being dyslexic, didn't he? About school, his schooling, how
Yes.
schooling let him down, which was interesting.
Yes, he did. He made a point repeatedly about how he struggled academically at school, and he actually failed his exams. And he said, to be honest, he feels that school and his exams failed him because his dyslexia wasn't diagnosed and he didn't get the support that was in place, and therefore he failed his exams.
But I think the important part was when he said his dyslexia made him who he is today, and that's why he's successful.
Yes, and that's important.
And I think that was important. And I think I can say the same about myself, as having dyslexia and never knowing anything about it, and dyspraxic. But it's not stopped me achieving in life, because it's not a handicap.
No.
And I'm saying it from my point of view as somebody who's dyslexic.
Yes.
It is not a handicap.
Me too, to be honest with you. I struggle with the spelling particularly. I'm not a particularly strong speller, and I never have been. And it can be really damaging to your confidence, and it can be a barrier to success in all forms. But you're right, you learn to learn in other ways.
Yes.
And it allows you to create new ways of thinking and speaking and engaging with people that can be, and often are,
Yes.
strengths, superpowers for people.
Yes.
So we can either choose to be a victim, or we can choose to find a way of succeeding.
To be super women and supermen.
Yes.
And both of us have gone into education.
And children have this potential within them. And Ben Fogle actually mentioned this quote. It's a famous quote by Albert Einstein. I am almost certain it's by Albert Einstein who quoted this. If we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will spend its lifetime thinking that it is stupid.
Yes.
Because it was not created specifically for that function and purpose. So our intelligence manifests in a multiplicity of ways, and therefore each child has innate skill and ability and beauty and creativity and strengths. And if we can find and allow children to find where in life they shine, and enable them and facilitate and give space and encouragement, support, and sometimes a little bit of a push as well when necessary, then there's no reason in principle, no reason in essence, ideologically speaking and thinking absolutely, that every child can shine brightly.
Yes.
And every single one of us can shine brightly, and the world will be illuminated beyond comprehension.
And could we please take the word stupid out of the dictionary?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. No complaints from me.
It's a word, it's a horrible word, the way it's used. And it makes you feel very, very inferior when people call you stupid.
Yes. We have to watch as well when we call ourselves stupid.
Yes,
often
that's
in
what
our
I'm
minds
saying.
and under our breath.
Yes.
We can often catch ourselves saying, oh, stupid.
Yeah.
Or idiot. We have to be very careful, because in a way we are confirming that to ourselves subconsciously. Potentially, I'm not saying you listening do that, but I think we all can be harder on ourselves than we like to recognise.
So before we finish, could you, I'm throwing this over to you, I know, but you explain it better than me. Could you tell people about our event that's coming up, where we're going to have magic?
Yes, so we have, if you aren't aware, we have our community Easter party coming up. This will be on Saturday the 12th of April at Sale West Community Centre in Manchester. And the party will be open to everybody. So children, families.
Particularly families,
absolutely. But the whole community, all of you, anybody, everybody is welcome. And it's free for children. And it's £5 for any adult. It's absolutely wonderful value. There will be fun games. There will be cake stalls, face painting, tombola, raffles, sports, bookstall, teddies, old school skipping, boxing, hair braiding. It's going to be...
the main thing, dressing up.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fancy dress, extraordinary Easter party. And the theme is going to be a character, your characters, your favourite characters from your favourite book. So children can come from anything from Fantastic Mr. Fox to Willy Wonka to Harry Potter to Dr. Zeus to the Heffalump. Pirates, absolutely, yes. Come as Jack Sparrow if you want to. Come as any character from any book ever, really. James Bond if you want.
Jack Sparrow's from?
Jack Sparrow is from Pirates of the Caribbean, which I do not know is a book. But there are plenty of books
and what about
with
the
pirates
Goonies?
in. The Goonies is a film.
So they can't have that.
I do not know if it was a book beforehand. It may have been. I have dressed as one of the characters from the Goonies before. If you haven't seen the Goonies, you need to watch the Goonies. It is a classic. Steven Spielberg classic. So there you go. You are all welcome, and I'm sure you are all interested and excited. And we would love for you and your friends, for your children, your grandchildren, your neighbours' children, anybody, everybody, all families to be there for us to celebrate our community, our shared community together.
There will be an egg hunt as well.
Yes, there will be.
Easter.
There will be an Easter trail with an egg at the end. It really is a wholesome, family-focused, fun day. Genuinely good people volunteering their time, energy, skill and talent, and we all give absolutely everything to this, our heart and soul, and it is a wonderful, wonderful event. As all our events are, we are completely biased, but I'm sure that you will agree if you decide to come. It is absolutely worthwhile. So that is Saturday the 12th of April at Sale West Community Centre in Manchester, and the community event will be from 2 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. It's free for children under 16 and it's £5 for adults, which is unbelievable value.
You can pay on Facebook, can't you?
No, you can pay via Eventbrite. Right. You can find the event on our Facebook page, Stride for Truth, and you can also, if you would like, turn up on the day and pay on the door. It's free parking as well. But if you would like to get your tickets beforehand, because it may well sell out, you can find our Easter party, Stride for Truth Easter party, Saturday the 12th of April on eventbrite.com. That's www.eventbrite.com. So hopefully we will see you all there. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, dressed as your favourite characters.
And we're
from
running
your
off
favourite
now, aren't
book.
We're running off to our walk in Tatton Park.
Yes, we have a community walk this morning in Tatton Park. Family, and then some food as a community afterwards. So we best go.
Yes, you're very welcome to join us if you live in that area and walk with us.
Brilliant. Well, have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week whenever it is that you're listening, and we look forward to being with you, speaking with you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.